Newer Music presents Reflections.
Good mornings, friends, art and music lovers, students and amateurs. It's a pleasure to be here with you today in Reflections, a new program on the New Art Music platform, a new space for the analysis, discussion, dissemination of the art and music of our times. Thank you for sharing with us part of this beautiful Sunday, and I hope you enjoy this program.
You're watching Reflections, your digital space for analysis and dissemination of today's musical creation.
Music inspired by art, and art that perhaps can be mirrored into music. That is the subject that we will be discussing today in Reflections. Art has been the source of inspiration of poetry and music and other forms of art. Perhaps in music, the most famous example is the virtuoso work for piano, Pictures on an Exhibition by Modesto Mussorgsky, a Russian composer that inspired this work on the pictures in an exhibition of a Russian composer of the name of Viktor Alexandrovich Hartmann. The work of Mussorgsky, the Pictures of an Exhibition, has been very much, is very famous, and it has been performed many times, and is also an orchestra piece. It has been orchestrated by several composers, and perhaps the most famous of this orchestration today is the one by Maurice Ravel. A few years ago, in a visit to the Arnold Chamber Museum in Vienna, I had the opportunity to look at some of the Arnold Chambers paintings. He used to paint, and the interesting story is that, according to the records, in his young years, uh, Chamber considered himself a painter, and he maintained a friendship and a correspondence with the famous Russian painter Vasily Kandinsky. And according to the records, Vasily Kandinsky considered himself or thought of himself as a musician, while Arnold Chamber, in his early years, thought of himself as a painter. That's a quite interesting, unique story.
Dear Sylvia, how are you? It's nice to say hi from Venezuela. And congratulations for this fantastic idea of doing a new installation inspired in our local native cultures here in Venezuela. It's really, really interesting and is so high and it speaks really high of you by doing this. It's really, really interesting. So congratulations, and we wish you all the best. But before we start talking about it, I really would like to explain to us what does it mean a clean hair photograph.
Yes, the cleaner photograph is a technique that I invented. Is a work that is a musical work that I generate from my visual work. It's a combination. I create this system as a way of combining my visual work with my music in a form of sound installations that involve visual art, sometimes also sculptures, and sound that is generated at the same time from the visual work. is a technique that I've been working with for quite a few years now, and I have already probably over 40 cleaner farming graph, and I have had the opportunity to do quite a few exhibitions with them.
Dear Sylvia, it's always a pleasure and a privilege to talk to you. And now, in this case, about this new composition technique related with the clean hair photograph. But before we jump into the details, it really catch my attention that you, of course, you are a well-known musician, a great composer, a conductor, a pianist, and you have a great reputation all over the world as a musician. But many people don't know that you also dedicate part of your time to plastic arts. You like you like to paint, you like sculptures, you have this other interest in the on this other side of art. Tell us about your case. Explain about when did you start to feel this interest into plastic art, and when did you decide to combine both things? It would be interesting to hear your opinion.
Well, the visual art is something that I have always worked on, and I thought of it as a hobby. But the truth is that through the years, I have been getting more and more into that. I mean, for example, I have designed some of the covers of my own books and some of my CDs. Um, I definitely have an interest on the visual arts, and so in even teaching at the university, I have developed make some of my students to work in some of my art projects, and an opportunity. I got a grant from the university to develop a mural because I got the idea of I taught this class, the humanities class, that it was for all students, not just musicians and artists, but it was one of my general courses that I have to teach. That it has students that were engineers and other kind of students. Students, they all have to attend this class as a requirement, as an elective requirement. And at some point, I thought of creating an artistic kind of work that it will get the students that were not artists engaged into the arts. So I asked for a grant, and I won the grant to create this project. So the idea was I designed a mural, a work, actually a massive work, and I actually have a competition for this. And then the students will create the work with me together. And we actually, it was a project that was very successful. We did it for a few years, and we ended the grant renew itself, so we ended developing three major life-size walls. Some of them are still at the university as permanent work, and another one is at another university in a charter elementary school that belongs to another university here in South Florida. So it was a project that was very successful. The students enjoyed very much. It gave the students who were no artists a hand-on experience on the arts, and it was a beautiful experience. We even make like a short movie of the whole thing because it was great for the students. It was fabulous. So yes, although I have always considered myself a musician, the visual arts has always been a part of me. And for example, when I did my children opera years before the university, when I worked on my three children operas, it was the same thing. The creation of the opera, I wrote the operas, but the idea was to have the students incorporated into the performance and the whole making of the opera. So I have a whole large numbers, over 1,500 children involved in this project, and these were I have the students of the youth orchestra, that it was my youth orchestra performing. I have the performance of the singing. It was all done by young students too, and I even have a team for the working on the production of the opera. So I came with the idea at that time of buying this incredibly large fabric, and I covered a whole wall of my orchestra room, rehearsal room, with this large fabric against the wall, and I will have the students for 6 or 8 months. The students were coming every afternoon, the ones who enjoy painting. uh, we first previously sketch the whole design on the fabric, and then I have students coming every afternoon to do a little bit of the painting, and this whole fabric mural that we created was actually the background of the opera when we put the opera on the stage. And we did 3 children opera in several years. That was a 4-year project. So every single one of them has the work of the students, of some of the students that were involved with the visual arts, as part involved in the opera project as the creators of the background of the scenery. So yes, I guess I have managed to include visual work into my music um, for a long time.
Venezuela. And congratulations for this fantastic idea of doing a new installation inspired in our local native cultures here in Venezuela. It's really, really interesting, and is so high, and it speaks really high of you by doing this. It's really, really interesting. So congratulations, and we wish you all the best. All the best.
Yes, the pictograms are part of the Venezuelan ancient culture. They belong to the ancient civilization, the pre-Columbian civilization that occupied that geographic territory even before the Spaniards came, or even before Venezuela was country. They're simply part of the ancient culture that was radicated there. They represent a form of communication, and these ancient cultures use the representation of pictograms in constellations, animals, human figures. I found it quite interesting, and I found it actually very useful to represent and utilize for my Klinger-Farben graph. I found that they were very appropriate. I got the opportunity to use them formally for an exhibition the first time when we organized the YLI exhibition in 2017. At that moment, I was mentoring the director of an organization in Colombia dedicated to the arts, to the empowerment of the arts, and we organized for them an exhibition with the patronage of the Department of State. And this exhibition, we invited artists from Colombia and artists from the United States, and the idea was that the subject of the exhibition was roots, origins. So obviously I felt that the the subject of the pictograms was perfect for me to utilize in my work, because it represented the culture where I am from.
The whole thing about the clean hair photograph It's really fascinating, it's really interesting, it's a whole new world. So congratulations, Sylvia, because you are opening new doors into composition for contemporary music. That's why I would like to ask you if you are thinking on writing a book or an article so everybody can see and can read and can learn from this sophisticated method. It will be really interesting for any musician to find a book about the cleaner photograph or at least an article on which you could explain all the details that this modern, original, and fantastic technique has to offer to the whole world. What can you say about it? Have you ever considered this idea?
Yes, definitely. I think that I'm already writing. I have written several essays, and I am writing more content about the whole technique of the Klinger graph on how to develop. Because I think it's something that I enjoy very much doing, and it probably could be useful for other composers.
Now I would like you to explain to us how does it work that composition techniques? How does it work a Klinger photograph? I mean, how did you get sound from a petroglyph or for a painting or for any drawing? How did you do that? How is this process to get music? And why is a composition technique? It's something really new and something really interesting. And young composers should put a lot of attention on this because it's really interesting because you're introducing a new way to do music.
Well, exactly for to describe the cleaner farming graph is a technique that is possible today with all the technology that we have, because I use different systems, different software that allow for a sonograph, that allows for the transformation of colors into sounds, the transformation of lines and forms into sound. So what I do is I first create the artwork, and then I use techniques of vectorization and diagrams, as well as different softwares for the specific absorption of color. The way that you utilize color is very important on how it converts into music. So basically, I from these different steps, it comes out a product that is a group of defragmented synthetic sounds. I call them synthetic sounds because they're generated in this artificial manner, but then I created defragmentation of these sounds, and I utilize some algorithms for that. And with the final product, I have a new musical system, a new hierarchy of sounds that then I utilize to create musical compositions. the Klingelfarbengraph is quite interesting, and I guess we could talk for many more hours, but time is limited. So I just hope that you all enjoy it, and thank you for being here and for spending part of your beautiful Sunday with us. Have a wonderful afternoon.
New Art Music TV.
Sponsored by Star Music Educational Materials and Digital Solutions. Markovely Music and Art Royal Conservatory Online Institute. Genema Media Label Publishing and PR. Music and Art Royal Conservatory. Global Village Ed Cooperative Platform for Online Education. Zealandia Land of Music. Friends of New Art Music. You're watching Reflections, your digital space for analysis and dissemination of today's musical creation.